السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله لا أبغي به بدلا، حمدا يبلغ من رضوانه الأملا، ثم الصلاة على خير الورى وعلى ساداتنا آله وأصحابه الفضلاء. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. وبعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله عز وجل، وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وما قل ودل خير مما كثر وألهى، وقليل يغنيك خير من كثير يطغيك، وإنما توعدون لآت وما أنتم بمعجزين. وبعد، إن شاء الله حديثنا الليلة عن جوانب الرزق. How to increase or how to achieve wealth. So we have here some reasons that are mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There are some kinds of ibadat. Actually, if you're doing this dunya, Allah will increase your wealth. Allah will increase your money. But at the beginning, when we talk about wealth, when we talk about rizq in general, what is the first thing that comes up to your mind? What is the first thing that comes into our mind when we talk about rizq? The first thing is money. And the second thing is al-awlad, children. But actually, money and children are not the only kinds of provision that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. حب الله ورسوله رزق. الصلاة في المسجد رزق. يكون عندك إخوة يحيطونك من حولك ومن ورائك، هذا رزق. العلم رزق. Kindness is rizq. To love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a kind of rizq. And to have mercy in your heart towards people is a rizq. And to be in the masjid surrounded by those beautiful people, it's a kind of rizq. And to have some knowledge is a kind of rizq. Your children is rizq, and also your money is rizq. So now we're talking about rizq in a wider concept. It's not only limited in money and children. And that's the first thing that I wanted you to understand, inshallah Rabbil Alameen. Because you know what? If you have money and you have children, but you don't have health, your life is going to be miserable. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide us with a good health. Allahumma ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. I can remember this story. Some of our mashayikh in Egypt used to tell us about a man who were very wealthy. That man was very wealthy. He has a lot of money. And actually he had one son and one daughter, because his wife passed away. And he has now one son and one daughter. But he was very wealthy. His son asked him and said, you know what, my father, I want to travel abroad just to work. I want to build myself. I want to be independent. But I said to him, I can't provide you. You just sit down with us. He says, stay with me. I don't want you to leave me after your mother passed away. But he insisted that he has to travel to be independent. And then now he's living only with his daughter. His daughter asked him and said, I want to get married. When she got married, she also traveled with her husband. And he became alone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a bala with a chronic disease. He couldn't even move his hands. He couldn't even move his hands. The only one who used to live with him is his driver, سائقه. الوحيد الذي يعيش معه هو سائق، الذي يعني يأخذ باله منه هو الوحيد السائق. The only one who takes care of him is his driver. And he is now in the hospital. And his driver used to have his own bed in the hospital, just next to his bed, to that man's bed, to take care of him all the time. And one time he wanted to scratch his back, but he can't even move his hand. And his driver was sleeping next to him, and he couldn't wake him up. You can imagine he was saying, if I could pay all my money just to scratch my back, I could have done this. So you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this ni'mah that you do every single second. That if you need to scratch body like this, you can't do it just very easily. It's one of the ni'am of Rabbil Alameen, and it's rizq. So please say Alhamdulillah. So that man has a lot of money, and he doesn't have health. He can even scratch his body. So what we can understand from this story is, money is not the only kind of provision. Your wealth is provision. Being nice towards people is provision. Having a soft and a kind heart is a provision. Your children are provision. People surrounding you are provision from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing that I want to say, Al-Islam دائما يحث على العمل. We're not talking today about some imani resources of rizq, just not to go to work. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam encourages us in his Sahih Sunnah to work. You remember that man who came to the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in Sunan Abi Dawud. جاءه رجل من الأنصار يسأله. A man came to him and he was asking for sadaqah. And you know, Nabi Alayhi he was very generous, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A man came to him and he gave him a sheep that is between, that can fill a valley between two mountains, alayhi salatu wasalam. And the man, he came back to his people and he said, Muhammad yu'ti ata man la yakhsha al-faqr. That man, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gives and he is not afraid of poverty, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But when this man from Ansar came to him, and he wanted to teach the whole ummah a lesson through this man, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he came to ask for sadaqah. Nabi said to him, أَفِي بَيْتِكَ شَيْءٍ? Look at the first question. Do you have anything in your house? Just anything in your house. And then he said, Ya Rasulullah, بَلَى حِلْسٌ نَلْبَسُ بَعْضَهُ وَنَبْسُطُ بَعْضَهُ وَقَعْبٌ نَشْرَبُ فِيهِ الْمَاءِ. He said, I only have two things in my house. The first thing is hils. It's a piece of cloth. We wear some of it and we put some of it on the floor like a kind of rug. So we don't have anything except that piece of cloth. I wear it sometimes and I use it as a rug sometimes. And I have qa'b. I just have one glass of water, Ya Rasulullah. Look at what we have nowadays in our houses. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allah has given us of everything. ثُمَّ تُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنْ النَّعِيمِ. And we will be asked about everything that we have in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what did he say? So he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he has only one piece of cloth and one glass of water. If he wants to drink anything, it's only one glass. Then Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Itini bihima." Go and bring them to me. When he came to Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam بيده وقال من يشتري هذين. He raised his hand, and he asked the Sahaba, who buys these two materials, this piece of cloth and this glass of water? And a man stood up and said, Ya Rasulullah, أنا أشتريها بدرهم. I can buy it for 1 dirham, Ya Rasulullah. And Nabi alayhi sallam قال من يزيد. It's a kind of auction, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who can pay more and take these two materials? Then a man came up and said, Ya Rasulullah, I can buy them for 2 dirhams. Then the Rasulullah gave them to him. And then he said to that poor man who came to ask, said to him, اذهب فانفق أحد هذين الدرهمين على أهلك, يعني كل أنت وأهلك, وبالدرهم الآخر اشتري فأسا أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم واذهب فاحتطب ولا أراك 15 يوما صلى الله عليه وسلم. So to him, go, you have now 2 dirhams. You don't have to ask people for anything. Go now, you have 2 dirhams. With the first dirham, buy food for yourself and your family and eat. And then go and buy a saw and a hammer and go cut the trees. احتطب. Cut the trees into pieces and go sell that wood. And then you gain some money, and I don't want to see your face again before 2 weeks. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like, go work. He doesn't have anything. Then the man came to him after 2 weeks صلى الله عليه وسلم وقد أصاب 10 دراهم فاشترى ببعضها ثوبا وببعضها طعاما. Then he came to the Prophet 2 weeks and he had 10 dirhams because he worked. That's what he wants صلى الله عليه وسلم from him. That's what he wants us to do. We're not supposed just to sit down like this and ask people to give us, to provide us. We should work upon ourselves, even if we don't have anything. We have a lot, we have too much compared to that person. Then he came with 10 dirhams, he bought some food with some of them and some clothes to himself and his family. Then Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, the lesson is here. The prophetic announced, قال هذا خير لك من أن تجيء يوم القيامة المسألة نكتة في وجهك. It is better for you than coming on the day of Qiyamah with a black spot in your face because you're asking people. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. See? Like on the day of Qiyamah, if he can work, but he doesn't work, he's just very lazy, and he goes to ask people, he will come on the day of Qiyamah with a black spot on his face because he's supposed to work, and this is what the Prophet wants from us. Before anything, we have to know that our provision is written. Before even we were born, 50,000 years, as the Prophet ﷺ said, everything has been prescribed by Rabbil Alameen. قال الله عز وجل في سورة الذاريات وفي السماء رزقكم وما توعدون فورب السماء والأرض إنه لحق مثل ما أنكم تنطقون. And in the heaven is your provision, and whatever you are promised, then by the Lord of the heavens and the earth, indeed it is truth. Who is taking an oath now upon himself? Who is saying for Rabb as-Sama'i wal-Ard? Allah Azza wa Jalla. See, subhanAllah. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing. Number two, He is swearing by His own self. فَوَرَبِّ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And then, إِنَّهُ, he used the inna to emphasize this, indeed. لَحَقٌ, then he used the lam. He didn't say, إِنَّهُ حَقٌ. He said, إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌ. This lam means there is no doubt about it. Like he's saying, by the Lord of the heavens and the earth, there is no doubt about it. Indeed, it is truth. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything, like he's emphasizing this with everything that you have in Arabic language. Like, right? إِنَّهُ لَحَقٌ, just as it is that you were speaking. قال الله عز وجل وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. And there is no creature on earth, but upon Allah is its provision. Any creature, we're not talking today about human beings, we're talking about animals, we're talking about insects, ants, we're talking about birds, we're talking about angels and jinns. Every creature on earth, upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is its provision. And He knows it's a place of dwelling, and it's a place of storage, and all is in a clear register. Okay, طيب. Now, ما هي أسباب الرزق بقى؟ جوانب الرزق. We have 9 reasons, inshallah, we'll go through them quickly, inshallah. It won't be long for you, inshallah ta'ala. We have 9 reasons that are mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu that if we do them, Allah will increase our wealth. We can achieve money if we're looking for money. Number 1 and 2, and they have combined them together because they have to be understood together, al-iman wa tawakkul. Iman and relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now, somebody can ask a question, subhanAllah, we have iman, we are Muslims, we pray 5 times a day, we have a lot of righteous people, but if we look back home in our Muslim countries, most of our Muslim countries have economic crisis. And we are Muslims, we have iman. But if you look here in North America, if you look in the West, people have, mashallah, much better lifestyle and they are not Muslims. Because of what? And then people start to doubt about iman. How does Allah talk about this in the Quran, and this iman increase your wealth? And we can see this reality. Most of the immigrants are Muslims. Because of what? Because these people over here, they really understood the concept, the real concept of tawakkul. Relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. صدق اعتماد القلب على الله مع الأخذ بالأسباب. If we have two people who got into the ocean, one of them can swim and he is a non-Muslim. And the other guy, he can't swim, but he is a Muslim. Which one is going to be drowned? Which one is going to be drowned? The Muslim, because he can't swim. اثنين نزلوا للبحر. واحد بيعوم ومش مسلم، والثاني ما بيعومش ومسلم. أكيد المسلم هيغرق. Not because he is a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save him. Except if he's a prophet, Allah will give him some miracles. Or if he is a wali, Allah might give him like a karama or something. But other than this, the ruling here of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth is whoever can swim, he will swim, and whoever can't swim will be drowned in the ocean. That's it. So, التوكل مع الإيمان. قال الله: ولو أن أهل القرى آمنوا واتقوا لفتحنا عليهم بركات من السماء والأرض ولكن كذبوا فأخذناهم بما كانوا يكسبون. And if only the people of the cities had believed and feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would have opened upon them blessings from the heavens and the earth. But they denied the messengers. So we seized them for what they were earning. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the fitna of al-alam. Number 2, if you have a wife and you don't have children and you're looking for children, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help everybody who is not married to get married. Say Ameen, please. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is not married here? Yeah, just like this. Okay. So, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help everybody who is married to have children. And everybody who has children to increase his wealth, Ya Rabb al-Alamin, his provision. Allahumma. So we have here a solution. قال القرطبي في تفسيره جاء رجل من الحسن البصري رضي الله عنه. A man came to Al-Hasan and he asked him, he was complaining about the dryness, like he has a garden but he can't plant his garden because there is no enough rain, there's not enough water. He is complaining. And another man came and he said to him, I'm poor, so ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase my wealth. A third man came to him and said, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me children. For the first one, he said, your solution is to say astaghfirullah. For the second one, he said, your solution is to say astaghfirullah. For the third one, he said also the same thing. Your solution is to say astaghfirullah. And then people said to him, you know what, like nowadays, if you're saying anything in the world, you have to bring up a dalil, right? Where is your dalil? So do you have any evidence from the Quran or the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Said to them, I'm not saying that from my own mind, but it is in the Quran, in Surah Nuh. قال الله عز وجل عن سيدنا نوح استغفروا ربكم إنه كان غفارا يرسل السماء عليكم مدرارا ويمددكم بأموال وبنين ويجعل لكم جنات ويجعل لكم أنهارا. 5 things you can gain if you increase your istighfar. Then Sayyidina Nuh said to his people, I said to them, ask the forgiveness of your Lord, because He is oft forgiving, He will forgive you, and He mentioned 5 benefits that you can get from istighfar. Number 1, He will send rain from the sky upon you in showers. If you have a lack of rain, if you need more water to plant your gardens. Number 2, and He will give you increase in wealth if you need money, and children if you want children. Number 4, and provide you gardens. Number 5, and provide you rivers. It is mentioned in the Quran. So number 3 is كثرة الاستغفار. Okay. Number 4, this one is special. This one is special.
For you.
No, for the Prophet. For the Prophet, it's special. What do you think? What do you think? Huh? It's birr al-walidayn. وصلة الرحم. Being dutiful to your parents. Wallahi, if you're dutiful to your parents, don't be afraid of anything. If you can hear your mother and your father every day saying to you, we are pleased with you and we'll make dua for you, you shouldn't be afraid of anything. لو أمك وأبوك يدعون لك كل يوم، لو بتسمع بأذنك أبوك وأمك يقولون إحنا راضيين وندعو لك، خلاص. You shouldn't be afraid of anything in this world. والله العظيم. بر الوالدين هذه بوابتك للجنة. This is your best gate to the paradise, as he said صلى الله عليه وسلم. الوالد أوسط أبواب الجنة، يعني أفضل وأعلى وأخير أبواب الجنة. The best to get in the paradise. Please them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will please you. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: من سره أن يبسط له في رزقه وينسأ له في أثره فليبر والديه وليصل رحمه. Whoever wants Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase his wealth and to prolong his life, it means to give him barakah in his time, to give him barakah in whatever he's doing. He can achieve his goals if he's studying, if he's working. He said, your way is to be, number one, dutiful towards your parents and to connect with your kinship. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to connect with your rahim. So this one is really, really special and important, and it's very easy. Do you provide your parents if they can't work? Do you take care of them or not? You have to ask yourself this question and then to act upon it. Number 5. قال الله عز وجل في سورة إبراهيم. This is the قاعدة that you should never forget about it. لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم وَلَئِنْ كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ. And remember when your Lord proclaimed, if you are thankful towards me, I will increase you. I will increase you. And if you are not thankful, so indeed my punishment is severe. That's what he said, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like how to be thankful? It leads us to number 6. كثرة الصدقات. To give charity for Allah's sake. And don't fear poverty. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن لله عند أقوام نعما. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given some people some ni'am. والنبي قال إيه؟ لله عند أقوام. Like it is the ni'am that we have, it aslan belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to us. Inna lillahi, the ni'am of Allah that He has given to some of His slaves. So it belongs to Him aslan subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna lillahi inda aqwamin ni'aman an'amaha alayhim. ما داموا في حوائج المسلمين وما لم يملوهم فإن ملوهم نقلها إلى غيرهم. As long as they are helping Muslims, as long as they are beneficial to their community, unless they feel fed up, Allah will take it away from them and give to some other people. As Allah mentioned in the last ayah in Surah Muhammad, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn your back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will replace you with some other people who will be better than you, subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will never be like you. He said this, ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. So, giving sadaqat for Allah's sake increases the ni'am. One of our mashayikh mentioned one time he went to a chicken store. He was buying some chicken, and that store was very busy. A long line of customers waiting. They had to wait for 40-50 minutes, just waiting. That's how long people used to wait in this line. You can imagine this. Very busy. And then he asked some people, because he looked across the street, and he found another chicken store, and only it had 2 customers. So that in this store, chicken store, a lot of customers, the other one is only 2 customers. So he was amazed. It's in the same area. The same product. So what is the reason? People said, because this man, he always gives 10% of his income for Allah's sake. And he is taking care of 1,000 families. It was in Saudi Arabia actually. So he's taking care of 1,000 families. Every month he gives 10% of his provision for Allah's sake. That's why Allah gave him barakah. طيب. Number 7. الصبر واليقين. قصة حاتم الأصم قصة جميلة. One of the righteous people whose name is Hatim al-Asam. This man, one time he said to his family that I have to go for Hajj. And he was the only provider for his family. Then the whole family actually opposed him except one of his daughters. She said to him, you know what, you just go father and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here. The best of the providers. He said to him, so you are leaving us, who will take care of us? He said, أَتْرُكُكُمْ لِلَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. I will leave you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best of the providers. Then he left. And few days after he left, his family, they were hungry. There's no food to eat. And they started to blame the daughter. You are the one who told him to leave. Why did he do this? And they started to blame her. What she did, she came into her own musalla. She started to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فيقدر الله عز وجل أن يمر أمير من أمام بيت حاتم الأصم. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best of providers, He prescribed this. One of the kings, he passed by the house of Hatim al-Asam, and it was a very hot day. And he was thirsty. Then he asked his people, his soldiers who were surrounding him, to bring him some water from that house. Then they went to that house, they brought him some cold water, and he felt very blessed with that cold water in that hot day. Then he asked the people, how is this house? They said, it's Baytu Hatim al-Asam, in the house of Hatim al-Asam. He said, I have heard of him many times. Is he the righteous person that people are talking about? They said, yeah. Then he brought some money, he took out some money from his pocket and he threw it into Hatim's house. And he said, Man ahabbani sana'a mithli. Whoever likes me, let him do just like me. All of his soldiers, they were like hundreds. Everybody brought something and they threw it in Hatim's house until the house was filled by money and gold, and they became one of the wealthiest families. Then the daughter started to cry. Her family were amazed. Like, when we were worried, you were making dua, and now we're happy, you're crying. She said, لَقَدْ نَظَرَ إِلَيْنَا مَخْلُوقٌ فَاغْتَنَيْنَا فَكَيْفَ بِنَا لَوْ نَظَرَ الْخَالِقُ إِلَيْنَا. Is only one of the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked at us one time and we became wealthy. What if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator himself, looked at us? This is the yaqeen, the certainty that we should have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب, I have another 2 points inshallah. I will mention them inshallah quickly. Number 8 is Taqwah, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can, in Surah At-Talaq. This surah is At-Talaq, and Allah is saying in Surah At-Talaq, divorce. He's saying, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. It is the surah that talks about Talaq, as it is an indication from Rabbul Alamin. He is saying, if you want Allah to increase your money, just to go for marriage. Again, marriage again. I don't know what about this how. Marriage the second time. So if you want provision from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should look for marriage. يعني تطلب الرزق عن طريق الزواج. قال Allah, and whoever fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will make for him a way out and will provide for him from where he doesn't expect. Last thing, الدعاء. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله حيي كريم يستحيي إذا رفع الرجل يديه إليه أن يردهما صفرا خائبتين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verily your Lord is generous and shy. if his servant raises his hands to him in supplication, he becomes shy to return them empty. It is reported by Imam Ahmad and At-Tirmidhi. So if you raise your hands to Allah in supplication and ask Him for provision, He will be shy, and His shyness is not like our shyness to return back to you empty. He is generous. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. جزاكم الله خيرا for coming today and for listening to me. May Allah reward everybody here. May Allah increase our provision Ya Rabbil Alameen. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا واستر عيوبنا واستر عيوبنا واستر عيوبنا اللهم علمنا ما جهلنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا يا ربنا علما وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله.